The cold wind had finally calmed. The sun rose slowly over the icy plains of Krovac 4, casting a pale orange glow on the snow. Inside the shelter, Cal, Braden, and Severa waited nervously. Days had passed since they sent their last message. The signal was strong, carrying proof of the Azari's cruelty and the truth about the phase shifters. Now all they could do was hope. Cal stood by the small viewport, staring at the distant horizon. "Do you think they'll come?" Severa asked softly, sitting on the floor near the heater. The form was mostly human now, the thick fur gone for the moment. Her eyes still shone faintly with teal light. Cal didn't answer at once. "I want to believe they will," he said finally. "But we have to be ready if they don't." Severa nodded. "We will survive together." Outside, the ground trembled faintly. A shadow moved across the sky. Cal's heart raced through the thin clouds. A small fleet of ships appeared sleek, silver and marked with the Union insignia. Finally, Cal whispered. The ships landed softly near the shelter. Humans in uniform poured out, their faces curious but kind. One stepped forward, Commander Alina Marsh, veteran of many interstellar missions. "We received your message," she said firmly. "The Union will investigate these crimes. You are not alone anymore." Severa stepped forward, her voice steady. "Thank you for believing." Over the next weeks, the Union team helped rebuild the shelter. They repaired the power systems, brought fresh food, scanned the area for any remaining threats. Cal and Severa worked side by side with them. The story of the phase shifters spread quickly through the Union fleet. Severa met others who looked like her hidden survivors, afraid but hopeful. One evening, Cal and Severa stood on a hill overlooking the settlement that was growing. Children played in the snow. Humans and phase shifters walked side by side. Severa smiled. "This is the home I dreamed of." Cal smiled back. "You helped build it. We both did." The stars above twinkled brightly. Cal felt a peace he hadn't known in years. Severa's eyes shone softly, no longer lonely. Together, they had turned a frozen wasteland into a place of hope, a new kind of home where anyone could belong. 2 days had passed since the battle at Varnak Ridge. The human base had been moved deeper into the mountain caves. Smoke still hung in the air, and the scent of burned metal never faded. Captain Raiden Voss was healing from light injuries, but his mind was far from calm. He sat in the small command tent, staring at a holographic map. The lines showed enemy movements. The Zarkith were pulling back for no, but no one believed it was over. General Morik entered and clapped Raiden on the back. "You did good, Captain. The Zarkith commander won't forget your name." Raiden nodded but said nothing. She ran. "That means they fear us now," the general continued. Raiden wanted to believe that. Something inside told him it wasn't. Fear that made her leave. Meanwhile, Kelra walked silently through the halls of the Zarkath war cruiser Vorniktha. Her armor had been repaired, but she had not worn it since. Her thoughts were heavy. She stood in front of the Dominion Council chamber. A voice from inside called, "Enter." The Zarkith High Strategist looked at her with unreadable eyes. "You failed to complete your duel, Kelra. That human should be dead." She met his gaze without fear. He fought well. I underestimated his tools. The strategist narrowed his eyes. "Next time, do not let pride cloud your aim." Kelra nodded once and left the chamber. Her face showed no emotion, but her heart was stirring. For the first time in years, she had lied to the council. She didn't stop because of a mistake. She stopped because something inside her shifted when she looked at him, back in the mountains. Raiden was sent on a scouting mission, along with 2 of his soldiers, Mills and Taro. They moved quietly through the burnt forest, keeping low and scanning for Zarkith patrols. The goal was simple: find the enemy's forward base and report back. But things didn't go as planned. The ground shook. A sonic mine went off near a fallen tree. Raiden shouted, "Scatter!" The team rolled into the bushes as energy blasts. Fired from above, Zarkith drones hovered near the ridge. One blast knocked Mills off his feet. Taro returned fire. But the drones were too fast. Raiden ran toward a nearby rock formation for cover but slipped and tumbled down a slope. His helmet cracked. His arm burned. He tried to move but cold. Then everything went quiet again. He opened his eyes to see a tall shadow approaching. His heart froze. Rot. Her armor reflected the weak sunlight through the dust. She stood above him, holding her energy spear, but she did not raise it. Raiden reached slowly for his weapon. I wouldn't, she said calmly. He stopped. I'm not here to kill you, she added. Raiden stared at her. Then why are you here? Kelra crouched beside him. I wanted to know something. What? Why didn't you strike when I was exposed? Raiden blinked. I thought you'd kill me if I did. Kelra tilted her head. So, you chose mercy ... for fear of death? Raiden shook his head. No, I chose it because I saw something different in you. You didn't look like someone who wanted to keep fighting. She looked away for a second, then said, I was raised to obey, to follow orders, but something broke during that battle. Raiden sat up slowly. You hesitated. She nodded. I've never seen a Zarkith hesitate, he said. Kelra looked him in the eyes. Maybe I'm not like the others. They sat in silence for a moment. Just two soldiers from different worlds, both tired of endless war. Suddenly, a buzzing sound echoed nearby. Drones, Raiden whispered. Kelra stood quickly. They'll find you. Let them. Fight. No, you'll die. She pulled out a device from her armor and pressed it. A signal jammer activated, blinding the drone's sensors temporarily. Raiden looked at her in surprise. Why would you do that? Kelra didn't answer. She just turned to leave. As she walked into the trees, she said over her shoulder, Next time we meet, maybe I'll have more answers. And then she vanished into the fog. Raiden sat alone, surrounded by silence once again. But this time, he didn't feel confused. He felt curious and strangely hopeful. The stars above Harnix were quiet, like distant eyes watching a world torn by war. Far below, in a ruined colony outpost, long abandoned by both sides, Captain Raiden Voss waited in silence. He leaned against a broken stone wall, the wind blowing, dust through the cracked ruins. His plasma blade rested by his side. But his mind was elsewhere. This was the third time. Kelra had appeared during his missions before, first in battle, then in secret. Each time, she could have killed him. Each time, she didn't. Now, they had agreed without words to meet here. Not for war. Not for surrender. Just to speak. And she came. From the shadows between the trees, Kelra stepped into the moonlight. She wore no helmet. Her long dark hair moved slightly in the breeze. Her armor was lighter than before, as if she had removed the heavy plates on purpose. Raiden stood up slowly. You're early. I came to see if you would keep your word, she said. I did, Raiden replied. No backup. No weapons. Raised, Kelra stepped closer. Strange. Human who trusts so easily. Raiden smiled a little. You keep not killing me. That builds a kind of trust. She stopped a few feet away from him. You joke. Even now. It's how we stay human, he said. Kelra looked up at the stars. In my world, we are trained to see emotion as weakness. But lately, I wonder if the real weakness is blind. Loyalty. Raiden watched her. You said something broke inside you. She nodded slowly. Yes, that day. When you tore my armor. I felt exposed, not just physically, but in my mind. I realized I didn't know why I was still fighting. Raiden sat on a rock nearby. I think about that every day. Why we fight. Why we keep going. Kelra slowly removed another piece of her armor, her forearm guard. She set it gently on the ground. Raiden raised an eyebrow. Testing me? She said, or maybe I'm testing myself. They sat in silence for a while. The ruins around them were quiet, just the sound of wind and distant night creatures. Finally, Raiden spoke. You've seen what your people have done. Cities destroyed. Children buried in rubble. Do you ever feel regret? Kelra didn't answer right away. She looked down at her hands. I followed orders. I believed we were bringing control to chaos. But when I saw you, when I looked into the eyes of a soldier who fought without hate, I felt something I hadn't felt in years." "What was it?" he asked. "Doubt," she said. "And respect." Raiden nodded slowly. "You're not the only one feeling that." Kelra stood and walked toward a nearby stone pillar. She placed her hand on the old surface, running her fingers along the carvings. This place was once a meeting ground for peace. Before the war, before the Dominion came. Raiden joined her. "My grandfather lived here before the invasion. Used to tell me stories about this colony. Green fields, music, trade ships. All gone." Kelra's voice was soft. "I'm sorry." Raiden looked at her. He could tell it wasn't just a word. She meant it. That moment, under the stars, something changed between them. They weren't enemies, not anymore. They were two people caught in a war neither of them had started. Then, a distant sound broke the quiet. A small Zarkith drone hovered into view. Kelra reacted first, grabbing a stone and throwing it at the drone sensor. Sparks flew, and the machine crashed. Raiden tensed. That means others may be close. Kelra stepped back, picking up her armor pieces quickly. "They'll track the signal. You have to go." "What about you?" Raiden asked. "I'll draw them away." Raiden shook his head. "You'll be hunted." She looked at him, firm and calm. "I've been hunted all my life, Captain, but this time, I choose the reason." As she turned to leave, Raiden said quietly, "Kale Sinth Welt. Rod." She paused. He walked up to her and reached out. Gently, without words. He touched the place where her armor had once been broken, the spot on her shoulder where it all began. She didn't pull away. "Finish it," she said in a low voice. "Finish what you started." Raiden looked into her eyes. "I will, but not with weapons." She nodded, then disappeared into the night. 3 weeks had passed since Raiden last saw Kelra beneath the stars. War continued around them. Cities still burned, skies still thundered, but something had changed. Raiden didn't just fight anymore. He searched. He searched for a way out of the endless war, and then one quiet night, a message arrived. It was delivered through a small, unmarked cum chip left at a drop zone, known only to resistance scouts. Raiden inserted it into his wristpad, and a flickering image appeared Kelra's face. "Captain Voss," she said in a calm but serious voice, "I have something you must see. Meet me at the abandoned relay station in Sector 9. No weapons." "Come alone," Raiden stared at the screen. The relay station was deep behind Zarkath lines. Entering that zone was suicide. But something in her voice told him this was important. He made his decision. Raiden traveled by night, moving through ruined roads and forest paths. He avoided drones and patrols. Carried only a light pack, no heavy weapons, just a basic shield disc and a pulse scanner. The relay station was a tall, crumbling tower, surrounded by silence. Faded Zarkith banners flapped in the wind. Raiden stepped inside carefully, ready for anything. She was already there. Kelra stood in the middle of the old control room. She wasn't in full armor, just a simple dark uniform. Her weapon rested against the wall. Her face was uncovered, calm but focused. "You came," she said. "I said I would," Raiden replied. Kelra turned to a console and pressed a switch. A blue hologram flickered to life. It showed a map of Zarkith's Dominion territory with several glowing dots. "What is this?" Raiden asked. "Control centers," she said. "The Dominion uses them to send neural signals to their elite soldiers' signals that suppress thought, emotion, and independence." Raiden stared at the map. "Mind control, not full control," Kelra explained. "It's why most of my people follow without question. I... removed my inhibitor years ago, in secret. That's why I can think differently." Raiden took a step closer. "Why are you showing me this?" "'Cause it's time to destroy the chains," she said. "I want to help end the war, and I need your help." Raiden looked into her eyes. "You're risking everything." "So are you," she replied. "But together, we can stop this if we get inside the Dominion command ship and destroy the main signal array." Raiden crossed his arms. That's a fortress in space. Even getting near it is impossible. Kelra gave a small smile. It's not for me. I still have clearance codes. I know how to fly a Dominion stealthcraft. Raiden stared at her. You've been planning this. I've been waiting for the right reason, she said. Now I have one. Back at the Resistance base, Raiden met with General Morik in secret. He showed him Kelra's data, explained the control signals, and laid out the plan. This is mad, Morik said. Going into the heart of enemy territory, trusting a Zarkis defector. She's not the enemy anymore, Raiden said. Firmly, she's our best hope. After a long silence, the general sighed. I'll authorize a diversion assault. It'll draw attention from their flagship. But if you fail, no one's coming to rescue you. Raiden nodded. Understood. 2 nights later, they launched. Kelra and Raiden flew together in a sleek black Zarketh stealth ship. The craft glided through space, cloaked from scanners. Below them, human forces attacked a Zarketh supply route, creating the distraction they needed. Raiden sat beside Kelra in the cockpit. You ever thought we'd be working together like this? No, she said softly, but I'm glad we are. The Dominion command ship appeared ahead of. Massive structure, shaped like a claw reaching toward the stars. Dozens of defense turrets lined its surface. Thousands of lives were controlled from inside. They approached silently. Kelra entered. Her clearance codes. The ship's system paused, then accepted them. We're in, she said. Raiden exhaled slowly. Let's do this. They landed inside one of the lower hangars. The halls were quiet, cold, filled with echoing footsteps. Kelra led the way, moving like a shadow through the corridors. Security's light, Raiden whispered. They don't expect someone like me to betray them. She replied. They reached the central chamber where the signal array was located at tall. Glowing towers surrounded by consoles. But standing in front of it was someone Kelra didn't expect, her old mentor commander Jernak. He was taller than her. Armored fully, his eyes filled with suspicion. Kelra, he growled. You bring a human into our temple? I bring freedom, she said calmly. You bring betrayal, he replied. You were our finest, and now you lower yourself to this? Kelra stepped forward. I finally see the truth. Jernak raised his weapon. Raiden pulled his shield disc. Standing beside her? No, Kelra said, stepping ahead. This is my fight. They clashed fiercely. Kelra fought like never before, not for the Dominion, but for choice. Her strikes were precise, fast. Jernak was strong but slower. Every move she made was driven by something. He could never understand purpose. Raiden watched, ready to help, but didn't interfere. After a long battle, Kelra disarmed him and knocked him to the ground. She stood over him, breathing heavily. You've lost, she said. Jernak looked up at her, surprised. Why do you spare me? Because I choose to, she said. That's the difference now. She turned to Raiden. Do it. Activated the virus code on his wrist pad and uploaded it to the array. Sparks flew. Signal tower dimmed, then shut down completely. Across the galaxy, Zarkith soldiers paused. Their minds, once clouded by control, suddenly cleared. Confusion. Spread, but also awareness. The chains were broken. The main signal array had been destroyed. Inside the massive Dominion command ship, alarms screamed across the walls. Red lights flashed in every direction. Footsteps echoed in the halls as guards rushed to find the intruders. Raiden stood at the main console, watching the upload finish. The virus had shut down the mind control signals across Zarkith space. All over the galaxy, thousands of Zarkith soldiers were no longer being controlled. Their thoughts were free for the first time. Kelra stepped beside him, still catching her breath after her fight with Commander Jernak. Her eyes were serious but calm. It's done, Raiden said. Kelra nodded. Yes, but now, though. Come for us. Raiden pointed toward the corridor. Then let's not stay. The two of them sprinted out of the signal chamber, leaving sparks and smoke behind. The emergency sirens howled as automated drones activated across the ship. Kelra tapped a control panel on the wall. I know a shortcut to the hangar. They turned down a narrow passageway and entered a maintenance tunnels. Maul, dark, and full of steam. Raiden crawled after her, careful not to trip on the metal floor. Behind them, he could hear boots and blaster fire getting closer. As they reached the end of the tunnel, Kelra stopped. A heavy security door blocked their exit. "I'll override it," she said quickly, typing into the wall panel. Her fingers moved fast, typing codes only a trained Zarkith would know. Raiden watched the lights on the door slowly change from red to green. "Hurry!" The door slid open just in time. They rushed into a side chamber only to face two Dominion guards aiming energy rifles. Raiden moved first. He dove forward with his shield disc and blocked the first shot. Kelra jumped high and landed a strong kick against the second guard, knocking him out cold. The other guard swung his weapon toward Raiden, but Kelra struck him from behind. The room went silent again. Raiden breathed heavily. "We make a good team." Kelra smiled slightly. "We don't have time for compliments." They kept moving, finally reaching the ship's hangar bay. Their stolen stealth craft was still there, but now it was surrounded by Dominion soldiers. There were at least 20, all armed and ready. Raiden looked at her. "We can't fight them all. We won't," she said. "Not alone." She activated her communicator and spoke. In her native tongue. Raiden didn't understand the words, but the look on her face was full of determination. "What did you say?" "I sent a signal to a group of free-minded Zarkith, those who were already resisting in secret. They'll come." Before Raiden could answer, a large blast rocked the hangar wall. Part of the ceiling fell as another explosion lit up the sky. Outside, ships began to land, human dropships and Zarketh rebels together. Soldiers from both sides poured into the hangar, working as one. Raiden stared in disbelief. "You called? The humans too?" Kelra nodded. "I asked General Morik for help. He trusted you. Now I trust him." Chaos broke out in the hangar as the united force clashed with Dominion loyalists. Raiden and Kelra moved through the fight, ducking behind crates and helping others along the way. They reached their ship as blaster fire shot past them. Just before entering, Raiden looked back. One Dominion officer was about to shoot a young Zarketh rebel from behind. Raiden acted without thinking. He ran forward, tackled the officer, and pulled him to the ground. The officer was stronger than him and struck Raiden hard in the side. Raiden fell to the floor, dazed. Kelra rushed over and grabbed the officer by the armor. In one clean motion, she slammed him against the wall and knocked him out. Raiden groaned. That hurt. Kelra helped him up. "You saved him. Why?" Smiled, "Because that's what we're fighting for. So no one has to die alone." They both entered the stealth ship and started the engines. Outside, their united allies pushed back the last wave of loyalists. The hangar doors opened wide. The ship lifted into space. As they flew away from the Dominion's flagship, Kelra watched the stars. Her eyes were full of emotion, but her voice was steady. "It's not over," she said. "There will be those who resist the change." Raiden nodded. "And we keep fighting. But now, ... we fight for peace." Kelra looked at him. "You've changed me, Raiden Voss," he smiled. "You changed yourself. I just gave you a reason." They flew into the stars, heading toward the human capital to deliver the data, the proof, and the hope. Behind them, the old warship burned quietly in space. No longer a symbol of fear, but of a future being rewritten. The stars stretched endlessly outside the ship's viewport, silent witnesses to a galaxy on the edge of change. Captain Raiden Voss sat beside Kelra in the cockpit. Neither spoke much. The weight of what they had done hung heavy in the airbyte. Behind them lay the Dominion command ship, crippled and drifting in space. The virus they uploaded had broken the neural control over thousands of Zarketh soldiers. For the first time, many woke from forced obedience and began to see the world through their own eyes. Raiden looked at Kelra. Her expression was softer than he had ever seen, a mixture of hope and uncertainty. "What happens now?" he asked quietly. Kelra sighed. "Now we build." She stood and moved to the small communications console. "I will contact the Free Zarkith factions. They must decide if they want to join this new path or cling to the old ways. Raiden watched her, amazed at how much she had changed since the first battle on Varnak Ridge, when their ship landed on the human capitals. Spaceport, a crowd waited to greet them. Soldiers, officials, reporters, and civilians. They were heroes. Raiden and Kelra stepped out together. No longer enemies, but symbols of a new future. General Morik approached, shaking Raiden's hand firmly. "You risked everything," he said. Then he looked at Kelra. "And you chose to stand with humanity. That takes courage." Kelra nodded. "I stand for freedom for all who wish to be free." The crowd applauded. Cameras flashed. News feeds carried the story across systems. The tale of the human captain and the alien commander who broke the chains of control spread hope where there had been fear. Days later, a conference room filled. With representatives from both humans and Zarketh rebels, Raiden and Kelra sat side by side. Maps, plans, and data filled the table before them. Kelra spoke calmly. "The Dominion will try to regroup, but without their control signal, many soldiers question their orders. This war can end if we work together," Raiden added. "We must build trust, share knowledge, help those who want peace." One human diplomat leaned forward. "How can we be sure the Zarketh won't turn against us again?" Kelra met his gaze. "Because this time, it is their choice. The chains are broken. We'll help them see that peace is stronger than war." The room nodded in agreement, but peace was not easy. In the following weeks, there were skirmishes. Some Zarketh loyalists rejected Kelra's message and fought fiercely to keep the old order. Raiden and Kelra led missions to protect vulnerable settlements caught in the conflict. One evening, after a hard day of fighting near a mining colony, Kelra sat beside a small campfire. Raiden joined her, handing her a cup of warm tea. "You never wanted this war," Raiden said softly. "No," Kelra replied. "I only wanted to protect my people. But I see now, protection means more than strength. It means choice." Raiden smiled. "You taught me that." They sat in silence, watching the stars rise above the horizon. Months passed. Kelra became an ambassador between humans and free Zarketh. She traveled across systems, speaking to leaders, helping to rebuild trust. Raiden chose to stay in the field, leading troops with honor and fairness. One day, Kelra visited a human village where children played freely in the streets. She knelt beside a young girl who looked up at her with wide eyes. "Will there really be peace?" The girl asked. Kelra smiled gently. "Yes, because peace begins with us. Every choice to be kind, brave, and true." The girl nodded. At last a great council was formed, representatives from both species coming together to decide the future. The old walls of hatred were slowly breaking down, replaced by bridges of friendship and respect. Raiden and Kelra stood side by side, watching as the council opened. Today, Kelra said, "We choose a new path. One of hope. One of freedom. Together," Raiden added, "because humanity's greatest strength is not in armor or weapons, ... But in its heart, the crowd cheered. The war was not forgotten, but it became a story of courage and change, a reminder that even in the darkest times, humanity's light could shine through. Raiden and Kelra knew the road ahead would be long, but they faced it together, stronger than ever. And as the twin sons of Harnex set on the horizon, a new dawn rose for all.